Welcome to RheoWorx. Today, we will create our first workflow.
We enter our RheoWorx credentials. After typing our username and password, we click the Sign In button. We are prompted to send a verification code to complete the sign-in. We click either the text or email radio button, then the Send button to receive our code. We receive our code, enter it into the verification code field and click the Submit button to complete the sign-in process. We land on the dashboard page. To create a new workflow, we must first create a new project. On the navigation menu, we click the Projects item. On the Projects list page, we click the New Projects link. A project is a logical collection of workflows. We may want a project that contains all the workflows for a particular business process. We enter a name for our project. We optionally enter a description for our project, then click the Save button. When done, we click the Cancel button to return to the project list. Next, we click the Workflows action icon next to our project. We land on the Workflow list page.
Click the New Workflows link on the top right. This will open the Workflow Orchestrator. The Workflow Orchestrator allows you to graphically build workflows like a flowchart, using connectors. The first thing we will do is enter a name for our workflow. The left side menu contains all of the current RheoWorx connectors. You drag and drop connectors onto the canvas, then connect them in order. We will drag and drop two agents onto the canvas. An agent represents a computer where the RheoWorx agent services are installed. In this example, we want to transfer all the files in a folder from a Windows server to a Linux server.
For each agent connector, we will select a predefined agent instance. First, we select our Windows agent, then our Linux agent. Next, we will stitch our major components together using the connection dots on each one. The arrows dictate the sequence of the agent execution. Tasks within an agent container are the tasks executing on the agent instance.
Now we will add the connectors that will execute as tasks on each agent. As mentioned previously, the menu contains all of the task connectors. Since we want to transfer all of the files in a specific folder, we will drag the File Watcher connector onto our Windows agent. First, we will give our task a name. Then we give our workflow an optional description. Next, we will specify the folder that contains the files we want to transfer. Here we are manually typing the name of the folder. However, we could have this folder name within a variable or have it passed to us from a previous task. The File Watcher connector executes when an event occurs within our folder. It can execute when files are added to, modified, or deleted from the folder. Also, we can just retrieve all files from the folder, which is what we select. The File Watcher will output a list of files within the folder to a file path list. We click the Save button when finished.
Now we want to transfer the files to our Linux server. We drag the RheoWorx MQ transfer connector to our agent. The RheoWorx MQ connector is intended for small to medium-sized files. We will give it a name and an optional description. We have to define to the connector what it has to transfer. In this case, we want the list of files found by the File Watcher, so we selected its file path list. The connector creates a transfer identifier that is used by subsequent RheoWorx MQ tasks to receive the files from this connector. When finished, we click the Save button. We are done with the tasks that are needed on our Windows agent. Next, we drag another RheoWorx MQ connector to our Linux agent. This one to receive the files from our sending agent. Again, we enter a name and an optional description.
We choose to receive files. This allows us to select which sending transfer identifier to use for receiving files. We select the identifier from our Windows Agent Send connector. Next, we manually enter the directory on our Linux computer where the transferred files will be stored. Like most connectors, we could have selected a variable that contains the directory name. When finished, we click the Save button. Our workflow is complete. We will click the Save button at the top of the orchestrator page. This saves the workflow definition to our cloud database. Next, we click the Publish button. This creates an execution definition of the workflow. Finally, we click the Execute button to manually start the workflow. Since we are executing manually, we get an alert that says notifications may not appear in the expected order. The RheoWorx workflow engine executes workflows first, then sends task notifications afterwards, to increase workflow speed.
We now see the workflow executing as notifications are received by the orchestrator. Tasks will turn green if they are successful. They will turn red if there is an error. You can see the workflow engine invoking the first agent. The agent executes its tasks. The engine then invokes the second agent, which, in turn, executes its tasks. When completed, the end task turns green. RheoWorx keeps a detailed log of each workflow execution instance. We click the Instances link at the top right of the orchestrator. We will land on the Workflow Instances list, then click the log icon to view the detailed log. Each connector will log which files it worked on and the status of each workflow task. Remember those days when we spent hours trying to trace where files ended up? With RheoWorx, we no longer have to guess. We have a complete chain of custody audit log of each one. If there was an error, we could quickly diagnose the problem and restart the workflow at that step. We will click the Dashboard menu item to return to the dashboard. Instance logs are easily accessible from the dashboard, giving operators a one-view window into workflow metrics and executions. You now know how to create your first RheoWorx workflow. In the future, we will have videos that dive deeply into the RheoWorx connectors and how to create complex workflows. Thank you.